I'm just working on my bench here at the Union of Country Sports Workers stand, and I've got an MP turned up who's a very familiar face in country sports circles. Kate Hoey, you're a Labour MP, and you're chairman of the Countryside Alliance. How did that come about?
Well, I've been a Member of Parliament now for 19 years. I've always taken an interest in the countryside because I was born and brought up in it and born on a farm in Northern Ireland. I got very involved in the campaign to stop the ban on stop hunting being banned, and I got more active in that. And obviously it was working with the Countryside Alliance members and the Union of Country Sports and all those groups who were fighting the ban. And then when the ban came in, I was asked would I, the previous chairman John Jackson was standing down because he'd been doing it for some time, and I was asked would I become chairman. And I felt that it was at a particularly appropriate time because the ban had just come through, and I thought it was actually a very important time to say, look, we're not going anywhere, we're going to fight back, we're going to get a repeal. And showing also, I think, to many, many people who might well be Labour orientated that not everybody in the Labour Party is anti-hunting and anti the countryside, because there is a feeling that most people in the Labour Party don't care about people who work in the countryside, including unions like this. So I took it on, and also the headquarters of the Countryside Alliance is in Kennington, in my own constituency, so that made it much easier, because obviously I'm a full-time MP, so I can't give up too much time.
Are you also involved with the Middle Way group for Parliament?
Yes, I was one of the first MPs with Peter Luff from the Conservative and Lembit Opic from Lib Dems to set up the Middle Way group. It was at the time when Jim Barrington, who was involved, had been a previous League Against Cruel Sports officer who'd left out of absolute disgust at the way the League were behaving, and also because he really began to look at the issue behind and realised that they were just plain wrong. So Jim was very keen to try and get a group that was looking at not so much just a middle way, but saying, look, the people who are anti-hunting have very, very strong views, and they can be challenged. The people who are pro-hunting need to understand why people are saying certain things, and then they have come up particularly, I thought what they were particularly good at was getting a reasoned argument for hunting, an argument that actually recognised that this was really nothing about animal welfare, it was actually more about prejudice and principle. And the Middle Way group starts from the idea that all animals, no animal should ever have to suffer unnecessary pain or suffering, unnecessary being the word, and that philosophy really meant that the whole debate about banning hunting or not banning hunting was actually very silly and arbitrary. It was actually about, given that animals need to be controlled and foxes were pests, what is the best way to control them, and that was not necessarily going to be shooting, although shooting can be necessary as well. So I was involved with the early days of that, and then when I became a minister, I couldn't obviously keep involved with that. And then when I stopped being a minister, Lynn Golding, Baroness Golding, had become involved as the key Labour person, and we work very closely as our chairman of the Countryside Alliance. Obviously we work very closely with the Middle Way group, but we are separate groups. But Jim Barrington, of course, is greatly respected amongst everybody within the hunting community.
You're brilliant at this. Right, one more question. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. I can edit all this bit out. Right, I'm going to ask it, but you don't have to answer it. Being a Labour MP, and being that the majority of Labour MPs have been in favour of the Hunting Act, how have you been received by some of the not so pro-hunting people in the Labour Party?
Well, I think at the very beginning there were some of my colleagues who were surprised that I was wanting to be quite happy to be out on a limb on this issue, because many of them had not thought about the issue and they simply went along with the flow. It was easier. Some of them, of course, had funding from the League Against Cruel Sports or the International Fund for Animal Welfare to their constituencies. And I respect people who have different views. What I wasn't prepared to respect was MPs who would not even go and find out about hunting and talk to the people who worked. Particularly as Labour MPs, they should have been very concerned about the possibilities of people losing jobs in the whole country, in the countryside, to do with hunting and the related activities. And but after the initial time that I spoke and voted against the original Michael Foster private members bill, I think people accepted it. There were one or two who had very extreme views, but now I think, quite honestly, a lot of MPs have moved on. And hopefully we will get a repeal of this very unjust and ridiculous law, but I don't think it will raise such emotion, because people have seen that the ban hasn't worked. What I think many people thought who were wanting a ban was that there would be no more hounds, no more hunts. Of course, we've kept all the structures of the hunts together. Hunting is carried on legally, and we are all looking forward to when either there is a change of government and a new government repeals the law, or the current government changes its mind and decides to repeal the law. Whatever happens, the repeal will happen.
I had an email from a Labour MP this week, and he explained to me that the Hunting Act was brought in to stop the staghounds from tearing the hounds to pieces, because now they can hunt and the deer will be shot. So I had to explain it to him that they were shot before the ban as they are shot now, and that hasn't changed.
I think what happened was that there was a lot of people within the League Against Cruel Sports and other animal rights groups, animal extremists, who painted pictures of what hunting was about that were completely far off the mark, who had no wish to get the truth across. And many of my colleagues were fairly gullible, and they would see a picture of a fox with hounds looking like they were tearing it apart without any understanding that the fox was dead long before that actually was happening. But they just didn't want to know, because they were prejudiced, and they thought of people who went out hunting as being all rich toffs. Now, there may be very many rich people who go out hunting, but you know as well as I do, and your members know, that there are an awful lot of ordinary, decent people who just simply like to hunt, either on foot or on horseback, or by following the hounds in different methods. And that there's also a lot of good people involved in working with terriers, working with the hounds in the kennels, and there's a lot of jobs in that. And it is just so small-minded of some of my colleagues in the past who have been so prejudiced, and I hope that some of them have begun to realise that they were wrong and that it has damaged Labour in the countryside.
And one more question. Where do you see the future and what's going to happen now?
Well, it depends very much on what happens in general elections. Clearly, David Cameron has promised a repeal. I would like to think that maybe before the Labour government is writing its next manifesto, that they would also be promising a repeal, but ultimately a repeal will happen, and that would be in the best interests of animal welfare.
I've just come into the press tent for a cup of coffee. I thought I was just going to sit down and be quiet, but walked in behind me is Peter Purves from Blue Peter days. I remember you as a child on the television. What are you doing at the CLA Game Fair?
Well, I've been working for Horse and Country Television. We've been covering the Eagle Euro Challenge, which is for gun dogs. Been put through their tests all day. And I'm delighted to say, from the 8 teams taking part, the UK won it. And they were absolutely stunning. They lost 24 points as a team out of a maximum of 300, which is pretty darn good. So, great. I've been doing that all day. We've also looked at a lot of other doggy things going on. I'm just here for the day, not here for the weekend. I've got other dog events this weekend. One is the Guide Dogs for the Blind Gala in Stoneleigh in Warwickshire. And on Sunday, quite close to here actually, south of Oxford, doing Notcutt's Garden Centre all about dogs, and there are 4 of those this year, so things keep busy.
What do you think of our little game fair here?
It's a heck of a big little game fair, isn't it? It is absolutely enormous, and it's packed today. There's a lot of people here. The weather's been lovely, though a little muggy. I don't really like the humidity. I find that a bit uncomfortable. But apart from that, it's been wonderful. I mean, I've only really seen the doggy bits. A lot of the sort of trade stands and stuff are the sort of things you'd expect to see at the Royal Show and places that I am familiar with in the Bath and West, where I first met you. But this... It looks like a pretty good show to me, and well organised, efficient, with lots of helpers around, lots of information. You can't get lost easily, and people seem to be enjoying themselves, and that's really the yardstick.
Peter Purves, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome, Ian.
Sat down next to Peter Purves is another Doctor Who star.
Keep going, son.
Bernard Cribbins. Now, Bernard, I remember you as a child like Peter on the television in the corner. Why are you at the CLA Game Fair?
I've no idea, really. We try and do it every year. We missed it last year, of course. I come down here to see a lot of friends who are on the fishing lines down there. Loads of friends down there, and also to take part in the celebrity clay shoots, which raise money for charities, and we all have a jolly good time, and a lot of money is raised, which is a splendid way to do things.
Well, we've recently seen you in the comeback of Doctor Who as the Stargazer.
That's me, yes, playing Catherine Tate's granddad, which was great fun. And I introduced a little bit of shooting into that. I don't know if you saw the episode when we're confronted with the Daleks. And I said to the guy who writes it, Russell Davis, I said, may I make a suggestion? He said, yeah. I said, what about Wilfred, my character, having a paintball gun and then talking about the fact that the Daleks have only got one eye, and if I shoot him in the eye with a ball of paint, he's going to be blinded, and we'll sort him out, you see. He said, what a good idea. So we did that. We shot the scene. It was in the show. And the Dalek confronts us, and he says, you'll come with me. And I said, will I, Eck? And lift the gun and go smack straight in the eye, you see. And then it starts to melt away from the eye, and the voice says, my vision is not impaired, you will be exterminated. And just before he gets to the end of it, he blows up. And behind him is Billy Piper with a great big space gun. And I look at my little paint weapon and look across and say, do you want to swap? Which I thought was rather nice.
Yeah. And do you shoot yourself?
Yes, I do, yes. I shoot clays with the Guildford Gun Club. We have a skeet night on Tuesdays in the summer, and we meet once a month. Not that I've done a great deal lately, I've been too busy, but I also like to shoot pigeons, wood pigeons, and I just love decoy pigeon shooting. It's one of my favourite forms of shooting.
Now you're talking my game now.
But I mean, you get every form of shot, don't you? You get a couple of birds coming in, you knock one down, and the other one turns sharp right and disappears, and you've got to chase him and find him, No, it's great shooting, and I shoot with a guy down near Portsmouth who is a very good shot, and cleans me up, sits in the hide, and we says, right, here they come, you've got them, 12 o'clock, 4 birds, you've got them, right, up you get, too bloody late, bang, bang. And he knocks them down. Yeah, no, I love it. And you do feel that you're doing a bit of good as well, because I was down on a property beginning spring, I suppose, and the rape was about 3 inches high, and the keeper was showing me round where I'm hoping to shoot when it's all harvested. And there must have been 2,000 birds got off it, and I'm not exaggerating, a big blue cloud, and you think that they're eating 4 ounces a day, and it runs into tons. And that is, the farmer's livelihood. And massive flock of birds got off, but you can't shoot them on that state of the growth, because you fire one shot, they've all disappeared, haven't they? But once it's cut and they're on the stubble, then there might be a chance of thinning them out a bit.
Have you shot the clay shoot yet, the celebrity clay shoot?
Yes, we did one today, and we've got another one tomorrow.
So you've won that, obviously?
No, we didn't win it. No, because George Digweed was in a team of very good shots, and they cleaned up twice. They had 80 birds in 240s.
Didn't they give him a handicap?
And they killed 40 birds each time. They were fairly easy. I mean, our team, and we weren't all experts like George, because he is a bit good, isn't he? We had 35 and 34, so that was pretty good. But they had 40 out of 40 twice. I hate him.
And you said you had lots of friends on the fishing. Do you go fishing as well?
Yes, I do. Yes, I fish and I shoot. Yeah. So I'm really unforgivable.
What sort of fishing do you do?
I do any sort of fishing, actually. At the moment, we're involved in a fishing series, hopefully for television, which we've really finished shooting on it now. It's all being assembled by the same guy that did Passion for Angling 14 years ago, which I narrated. And he asked me to narrate this one and also take part in each episode doing a bit of fishing. And we've been catching carp and pike and a few trout and small grills down on the Avon and things like that. It's been very nice. And some lovely, lovely film he's got. Can't wait to see it all finished. It'll be smashing. It needs to go on BBC Two, so tell all your friends to write to the Governor-General. Director-General.
Bruno Cribbins, thank you very much for talking to Country Sports Radio.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I've walked up through Gunmakers Row and I've come up to the top, just underneath a house of Blenheim Palace, and we've got the Countryside Alliance stand. I'm speaking to the Chief Executive, Simon Hart. Now, Simon, how's the Countryside Alliance stand been for the show this year?
Busy and hot. I suspect with probably everybody else has said the same thing. But it's been brisk. We've seen a lot of people, and we reckon it's been a good game fair, yeah.
Has the Countryside Alliance got anything special that it's doing at the show this year?
I think we're doing quite a lot of things, really. We've obviously got the full range of field sports demonstrations and all the paraphernalia which comes with that. So anybody who's got an interest in hunting, shooting or fishing or any country sport, there's something for everybody here. Obviously we've got some hospitality too, which being at the top of the hill, I think by the time people get here they want somewhere to have a cup of tea or a drink, so that's quite good. And all of the non-field sports activity as well is represented. So we've got a sort of broad range of activity, and of course all the usual subjects are on people's lips at the moment.
And you've got the statues out the front.
The living statues, yeah, I feel a bit sorry for them, standing motionless in full sort of hunting or shooting regalia in this heat, but actually they're an added attraction for the kids. We're auctioning a Morgan sports car too. That seems popular. The tickets are selling well on that. I think the thing about the Game Fair is that we don't come here to do anything other than talk to the members and hopefully talk to some future members as well. And we've seen quite a few of them this time too.
It's come to the end of the second day and the sun's going down and it's 6 o'clock now, and I've come down to Fisherman's Row and I'm sat in a bar, a coffee bar just outside of Hardy's. Now, Charles Jardine I've known for years around the shows. Charles, what's your position with Hardy's now?
It's been a long day. You might not get the response you want. I was asked to join Hardy and Grace as their angling consultant, and I'm thrilled. I'm really thrilled, Ian. Really am.
And how's the show gone over the last couple of days? Because obviously you've been talking to lots of people.
Yeah, it's frantic. It's been really frantic. I mean, I honestly can't remember a busier show. I mean, it's mad, isn't it? We're supposed to be in the grip of a recession that's sort of pulling us ever closer to an abyss, and yet around us you can see, even now, I mean, it's 6 o'clock. Is that the yard arm? I think it probably is. We're looking at still business being written, still stuff going on, and it's just been very cheery, actually, for everyone, not just the stall holders, but also the people attending. It's been a very happy show, actually.
I've got a Hardy rod at home. I've got a Hardy Ultralight 5, which I use for dry fly fishing.
Well, we'll try and get you onto a proper rod now.
I find it's a lovely rod to use.
No, it's fine. I mean, you know through guns that if you have a gun that suits you, you don't want to get rid of it. And it's the same with the fly rod. I mean, and I would say this again about any rod that anybody owns. Don't get taken in by, fashion or what people feel. I'm saying this against ourselves because our business is selling fly rods, but Hardy's and there are a number of other companies, Grays, they invest in people, not just product. And that's why I wanted to join them, because it isn't a hard sell. It's the opposite, actually. You know, we want people to fish.
I worked in a gun shop, come fishing shop, in Roxton's, and I had a Hardy rod brought in with a tip gone. Sent it back up to Hardy's, and they made a new top section for me. Absolutely brilliant company to work for.
Well, I mean, that's the essence of it. I mean, it's dealing with the customer, and it doesn't matter. You can make the best rod in the world, you can make the worst rod in the world, you can make the in-betweenest rod in the world, but at the end of the day, if you're not providing a service, then you're actually letting that customer down, and that's what really counts, I think. I really do.
And how do you find fishing's being taken politically at the moment? Because at one stage we had Peter trying to get in the press and trying to ban fishing. We haven't heard anything for the last couple of years. Ominously
quiet, I would have said, Ian. Ominously quiet. Well, you know my associations with the Countryside Alliance. They still remain. I was fascinated, and I was brought round from the brink of being quite actually against the idea of this angling unity thing, to a point where I was brought on board with this angling unity thing. And then I find that my organisation that looks after game angling is not going to join, so they've torpedoed angling unity, which is to me farcical. If we don't have a unified body, and maybe the Alliance, who knows, is the right one to come in and take the mantle as being the voice of game angling. It needs somebody, because of course now the Salmon and Trout Association are a trust. It's very difficult for them to represent one niche organisation.
Well, in the shooting world, we've got so many organisations now. My personal view is we're being divided all the time. Every time a new organisation is formed, is this what's happening with fishing? Because game anglers don't seem to talk to sea fishermen and coarse fishermen.
The whole idea of this unity thing was to actually bring everyone together under one roof, and it actually made an awful lot of sense, and everyone was happy with it. And then, for reasons best known to themselves, the SNTA decided to pull out and create themselves into a charitable trust, and we find ourselves with a fractured unity programme. You know, you can't have one group, you can't have one unity group and then another angling group on the outside. That's ridiculous. But so, you know, let's be cautiously optimistic that they might look at other ways, and another angling organisation will come in and look after game anglers and then come into the unity fold. Let's hope, anyway.
Have you got any funny stories over the last 2 days with customers?
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you.